Hi, this is Umair and I'm back with another JavaScript tutorial, and this time I'm going to talk about very interesting and very important JavaScript library, that is Underscore.js. Underscore.js is a JavaScript library that provides a whole mess of useful functional programming helpers without extending any built-in objects. So what does it do? It performs common operations on data, and data can be like objects, JSON file and arrays. It is compatible with other JS libraries like jQuery to perform DOM operations. It contains functions for different kinds of data manipulations, and there are different kinds of data operations that we can do with the help of Underscore.js. It fetch data from the collections and from the arrays, transfer data in various formats, sort, filter and group data, convert data into required result by performing specific operations on them. It has templates that can be used to perform different data operations. So guys, you can see that I have opened this project, and you can download this project from the link I have given in the description below. Once you download that project, you will see that it has different files, and it has a data folder, it has a lib folder. The lib folder contain underscore.js file that you need to download from the underscore website. If you have developed, if you have made your own project in your IDE, I'm using WebStorm. You can use other IDEs as well. So in order to download the underscore.js file, you need to go to underscore.js.org, right click here, click on save link as, and select all files and save it in your own directory. Okay, and after that you can add that file inside your project. You can see that inside data folder there is data.js file. It has a JSON code and with the name students, and inside this array there are 10 objects, and first name, last name and roll number are the attribute of individual object. Alright, there are 3 script files, and these files contain nothing except that load event. I'm going to write the code inside these load events. Alright, I can include one script file, but I haven't added and created 3 script files because I have divided this course into 3 different sections. So I wanted to write the code for individual section in 3 different scripts. Okay, that's why I have created 3 script files. I make sure you also do it like this. Okay, and inside index.html file, you can see that there are different div elements, and I'm going to populate the data inside these div elements using that script files. Okay, and from right here to the bottom, alright, I will populate the data in these div elements with the help of script 1, and after that script 2 code means that I will populate the data of these div elements with the script 2, and for the script 3 I will just show you the data in Chrome browser, Chrome developer console. Okay, and at the end I have included files that I have created. I have included underscore.js file, data.js and 3 script files. Alright, so this is the structure that you need to have in order to follow along with me, and make sure you practice it on your own system as well once I start writing code in these script files. Okay, so let's start writing code in the script 1. Alright, so the thing is, what we need to do now, we need to start working on the first 4 div elements. Alright, these are union, intersection, difference and without. These are the 4 underscore.js functions that we can take help from. Okay, so let's go to script 1 and let's start commenting. We need to do union, we need to do intersection, we need to do difference and without function. Alright, so press enter, and I'm going to add 2 arrays because I need to perform these functions on the collections. So array is a collection. I can do it on object as well, but I will show you how to perform these things on objects. Right now I need to define arrays, so let's define an array. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. Okay, let's create another array that has to be 1, 2 and 5 characters. Alright, so I've created these two arrays. Now let's get the reference of these 4 div elements. Okay, if you have learned JavaScript and have used it, you must know that we can get the reference by document dot get element by ID. Alright, so that has the union ID, and I'm going to copy it and paste it. Okay, so I'm going to copy intersection. Well, I need to copy intersection and paste it right here. Let's copy difference. I'm going to keep the same name of the IDs and these variables. Okay, now let's apply these union, intersection, difference and without underscore.js functions. Okay, so union dot inner HTML equals to underscore dot union. Alright, so what union do is it will combine these two arrays. Okay, it will remove the duplicates as well, so I will write array and array 2. Let's name it array 2. Alright, and this is the union, and let's copy it, paste it, intersection, difference and without. You can see that I am just adding data into these elements with the inner HTML attribute of these variables. Okay, so first one was the union, the second one has to be intersection. Alright, and the third one has to be difference. Okay, and the last one has to be without. Okay, but the last one I don't need to add array 2. Let's add A and C. Alright, the first one will combine these two arrays and remove the duplicates. Alright, it will not print 1, 2 twice, and the intersection will create the intersection of these two arrays. The difference means that all the elements that are not present in array 2 but present in array, that will be printed. Alright, and without means that array, let's add 2. Alright, and it will print everything that is in array 2 except these 2 characters. Okay, now let's run this program, and in order to run it I will just click right here, and you can see that these things have been generated. Okay, the first one is the union, this is the intersection, this is the difference, and this is without A and C. Alright, so you can see that how efficient it can be in different scenarios while working with JavaScript. So now let's see what are next. We have first, last, initial and rest. Alright, let's copy it and paste it. But first, let's add comment. We need to have initial, rest, first and last. Alright, and let's copy and paste so that there is no spell mistakes. We have last, we have initial, and we have rest one. Alright, and now let's do first dot inner HTML equals to uh, that has to be underscore dot first. Alright, and the first will fetch the first element from this array. Alright, so for these four elements, let's create another array. I don't want to mess with those arrays, so I will name it as ARR and just keep the first five elements. Alright, so I will enter array. Alright, so this will return the first element from this array. Alright, last has to be inner HTML equals to last, and again add that array. Alright, so initial equals to well, inner HTML equals to underscore dot initial, and that will have two parameters. The first one is the array and the second one is the number that has to be integer. Alright, what does it mean is return everything but leave last two elements. Alright, so it will return 1, 2 and 3. Alright, so let's have rest.innerHTML equals to underscore dot rest, and it will have two elements, two parameters again, and 2. Alright, this is the opposite of initial, so it will return everything but leave first two elements, so it will return 3, 4 and 5. Alright, so let's run it. Okay, so you can see that the first element, last element, 1, 2 and 3 leaving the last two elements, and 3, 4, 5 leaving the first two elements. Alright, so now let's see what we have next. We have pick, omit, keys and values. Alright, so I will just copy it and paste it, and I will just copy and paste the name of IDs so that there is no spelling mistake. Alright, make sure if you have any question in between, just comment below. I will answer your question. Alright, if anything of these are confusing you. Values, so we have get the reference of those div elements. Alright, so now we need to fill those things. Let's add the comment, omit, keys and values. Alright, so now let's fill it. Pick dot inner HTML equals to underscore dot pick. Alright, and for this I'm not going to use any array, but I'm going to use this data array, and it is a JSON file. As you know, it has the objects, and object have different attributes. Alright, so let's come right here, and what it will do is it will pick any particular attribute from any object. Alright, so I'll pick the last element of first object. Okay, so first I need to give it an object. Alright, so the first element of students, this is the first element. Alright, second element is the name of attribute of that object. Alright, so and I will do like this. Basically what it will do is it will not return a string, it will return an object. So in order to get the last element, the value of last attribute from this thing, alright, we need to add dot last element, okay, last name. Alright, now this will return the value of this attribute. Alright, earlier this part of code would only return an object but not the string, but we need to add the inner HTML of pic with the value of last element. Alright, so that's why we need to fetch the last attribute from that. Alright, so now I need to add omit dot inner HTML equals to underscore dot omit, and again I'm going to give it a particular object, right? Let's give it the second element, and I will give it an, an attribute. Alright, this part of code would only return an object including only one attribute. Alright, it will not contain first and roll number. Alright, so that's why once it will return a last name, I will fetch dot last name. Alright, what omit will do is omit will leave last name and return an object including first name and roll number. So we can't fetch last name from omit. We need to fetch first name and roll number. Alright, so we can fetch first name or roll number. So let's fetch first name. Alright, I will show you how to work with keys and values. Let's check out the result of these two lines. Alright, so I will just reload it. So you can see that it has returned Jamil and it has returned Danyal. Alright, so I will go to data and you can see that it has returned last name and it has returned Danyal. Okay, so if I would have to enter the last name right here, it will return an error because this object doesn't contain an attribute with the last name. It has omitted the last name. Alright, so now let's do it with other things. Inner HTML equals to underscore dot keys. So let's give it an object. Let's give it an 8th object. It will return the keys of student 8. Alright, in order to fetch the values, let's give it another object and it will return the values of student 4. Alright, now let's go right here and reload it. You can see that it has returned the keys, all the keys of student, I think that was 8. Alright, and it has returned all the values excluding the keys of object that is student 4. Alright, so that's been done. Let's see what we have next. We have extend and clone. Alright, so let's do it now. Let's copy it and paste it. Let's add comment. So what we need to do here, we need to have extend and clone. Alright, let's copy the IDs from here to there. Well, I need to do this. Alright, so we have get the reference of those div elements with the help of those IDs. Now let's apply extend and clone. This is a bit more trickier. Earlier I just did and called those functions, but right now in order to work with extend and clone, we need to do something more. Okay, so what I need to do is first I need to have an extend. Okay, student function. So now you can see that these are the objects inside an array. What extend will do is extend will extend the attribute of any of these objects. We can add a new attribute, means let's say we want to add a new attribute degree. Alright, we can do it on the object 1. We can also extend any attribute on all the objects of array students. So let's do it. Alright, so I'm going to add and extend a degree attribute on all these objects. Okay, in order to extend it, I need to use each _JS function. Each will work like a for loop in JavaScript or while loop or for each loop. Alright, so inside it I need to give in an object or an array. Alright, right now students is array, so it will iterate around all these objects. Alright, and it has a callback function. If you know JavaScript, you must know what is callback function. Alright, so inside this each function we want to extend a new attribute degree to these objects. Alright, so let's use underscore.extend. Alright, so the first parameter should be the object in which we want to extend an attribute. Alright, so the each attribute will return an object every time that it will iterate. So the first time this element will have a reference to individual objects. Alright, so we can pass an element right here that we want to extend degree element to this element. Alright, and after that I need to pass an object containing key value pair that what should be the new attribute. Alright, so I will add like this. Okay, so what it will do is it will iterate through all these objects and extend this new attribute to each element. Alright, so now let's print that out. In order to print that out, again I need to iterate through all these objects and I can use each function again. Alright, so I want to iterate students. Okay, and let's add a callback function, list. Alright, and now we can add a value to the inner HTML, but we need to do to the all objects. Alright, so let's add a var. Alright, so we have index, and index is the index of individual element. First time it will be 0. And let's concatenate it element dot first name. Alright, and let's add a space in between, add a plus, just press enter to bring it down, and element dot last name. Roll number plus press enter, element dot roll number plus, and we need to add a degree as well. Alright, let's add space a bit right here and space right here as well. So element dot degree, we have just extended this JSON file with an additional attribute called degree. Alright, and add a break tag as well. Alright, so it will iterate through all the elements and fetch the result of individual element and store that result into this variable. Now we can extend that result and add that to the inner HTML of extend. Extend.innerHTML equals to extend.innerHTML. We want to concatenate it each time and result. Alright, that was a bit lengthy, but as we go further we have to do these bigger things from here. Alright, so that's been done. Let me explain you again that this will extend this new attribute to this data file, and this will print that data file and append that to the extend element. Let's go to Chrome and reload it. You can see that it has printed all the objects including the fourth attribute as well. So you can see that we can extend attributes with the help of this underscore.js file. Alright, now we need to add and work with clone. Alright, so what clone will do is it will create a shallow copy of individual object inside this array. Alright, so what shallow copy means, there are two kinds of copying. One is a deep copy and shallow copy. If you know object-oriented programming, you must know what is shallow copy. So var clone equals to underscore dot clone students. So which student element, which student object I want to clone, let's say it's 2. Alright, now it has cloned. Now I can use this element in order to fill the inner HTML of this clone div element. Alright, so clone dot inner HTML equals to, let's change its name, cloned, and cloned dot first name. I don't need to fetch all the attributes. Let's add last name. Plus, press enter and press space as well. So roll number can be cloned dot roll number, and plus let's add break tag as well. Alright, change it to clone. Alright, now we have the result inside this inner HTML. Alright, now let's go here and press this. You can see that it has fetched the data from the cloned attribute. So guys, we are done with the first section of this tutorial. Now let's go and work on the second section. In the second section, we need to fill these div elements and write our underscore.js code inside script2.js file. So let's go and write some code here. So let's see what we have first now. We have h4 with an ID of student numbers. So we need to find how many objects that this student array contains. So let's go and add a comment, size of students. Alright, so let's first get the reference of the element. So document dot get element by ID, students num, and students num dot inner HTML equals to number of students, and that has to be students num dot inner HTML actually no, wait, we need to add underscore dot size. We need to pass in the object. In that case, this is this object. Alright, so this has been added inside this element. Now let's go and check out. Let's reload it. So you can see that number of students are 10. What I want to do is I don't want to see the result of script 1 code. So what I will do is I will go and remove the reference from it, comment it, so that the code of script 1.js file doesn't execute. So now let's go and reload it. So you can see that there are no results. We have number of students 10. Let's add a space after the students. Alright, so that's been done. Now what we have next, we have students container. Alright, iterating students. So iterating students, I've already told you. So let's add each. Let's pass in students object and a callback function, element, index, and list. Alright, so inside it we need to get the reference. Let's copy it and paste it. Get the reference of it. Alright, and get the reference of student container. And after that we need to fetch the result. That has to be index, concatenate it with the column, comma, and element dot first name, concatenate it, add a plus, press enter, element dot last name plus roll number plus element dot roll number plus, and we have fetched the result. Now let's copy it and add the data to this element using inner HTML. Inner HTML plus result. Alright, so it will print all the data from this array. So let's go and reload it. You can see that it has printed all the data from 0 to 9. These are the indices and these are the row numbers. Alright, so now let's see what we have next. We have student greater roll number, we have find, where, and contains. These are the underscore.js functions. Alright, so let's go and do this. We have a find, where, and contains. Alright, so I will copy it and get the reference for student greater roll number. Alright, and change its name to student greater. Now I need to save the result of underscore dot find students function element. Alright, and it has a callback function. If element dot first name equals to Umair, then returns true. Alright, so what it will do, I have used the find underscore JS function. It will receive an object and a callback function, and inside that callback function I have added a condition that if the first name of this element object is equals to Umair, then return true. Alright, so wherever it will find the first name equals to Umair, it will only return that particular object to this element. Alright, and now we can fetch the data from this element. Alright, so let's add student std greater dot inner html equals to, we can just copy it and paste it right here. Alright, so let's see if we have that object. Right now we don't have any result. Let's press F12 to see if there are any errors. Index is not defined. Okay, so we don't have index right here, so let's remove it. I just copied this code from right here, so that's why. Let's go right here and reload it again. There is another error, can't read property first name of undefined. So the error was that I didn't spell the first name right here correctly. So this is, I missed the T of first name. Alright, now this should work. I will go right here and reload it. You can see that it has returned that object that has the first name Umer. Alright, so we have seen that how to work with find function. Now let's see what we have next. We have where and plug function. Alright, so let's add a reference, and that has to be std where. Now let's add an element variable and underscore find where. Let's pass it students and an object. First name has to be Norays and roll number has to be 5. Alright, so it will find with a condition that return that particular object where the first name is Norays and roll number is 5. So in our case, there is just one object. There are some cases where there can be more than one object, so we need to return and get the result using this each function. Alright, so let's now fetch the result, and we have to use std where dot inner html equals to this result. Copy it and paste it. Alright, let's go here and reload it, so you can see that it has returned that particular object where condition matches. So we are done with find where. Now let's see, we have std plug function. Alright, we need to use plug function and contains both as well, because contains, in order to show contains, we also need to use plug functions, so we will work with both the functions. So let's get the element. Alright, and var element underscore dot contains. Alright, this is the underscore function, and contains need to have an object and a condition attribute. Alright, so first I need to show you what is plug, so let's leave it. Let's add plug and let's pass it students and a key. Alright, so what it will do is it will return the roll numbers from all these objects. Alright, it will exempt the first name and last name. It will only return an array that will contain these roll numbers. Okay, so once we have got the roll numbers, list of roll numbers, we can add a condition that if that list contains 5, then return that object that contains 5 roll number. Alright, so what it will do is it will return this particular object, okay, because it has a roll number 5. Now let's std plug.innerHTML equals to that element. Alright, so we don't need to add a whole element because this is not an object. Contain return true or false. If we want to check if the list that will be returned from this plug function contain the roll number 5, then return true. If it doesn't contain 5, then return false. So if this is true, then the inner HTML of student plug will have true. So let's add a comment as well, true or false. Okay, let's reload it. You can see that it has returned true because there is an object that has a roll number 5. Alright, so we are done with the find where contains. Actually we have done plug as well. Alright, so next thing is we need to sort students. Okay, so let's add a comment, sort. Alright, so first we need to fetch the elements and get the reference. So sorted students. Alright, and now we need to use the sort function. So sorted stds. Alright, both have the same name. Let's change the name of that variable. Equals to underscore dot sort. So we want to use sort by because we also want to add a condition over it. The sort is the same sort, we need to pass an object. So let's check out a bit more advanced function, sort by. So let's pass students. Alright, and let's pass it a function that will have a condition inside it. Alright, so I don't have a function yet, so let's name the function before creating it. Sort student by first name. Sort students by first name. So before moving further, let's create that function. Copy it, paste it. Item. Alright, and I will return item dot first name. Alright, so now this sorted student will call the sort by function passing this whole array, and will call this function and it will return the first name. Okay, so now let's print the result. And it will have a result of all the objects sorted with the first name. Okay, so var, actually we want to print all these objects, so we need to use each function. Okay, we added the int function right here. Let's copy it and paste it right here. Alright, so we have a variable already we have. Okay, and in order to fetch the result, we have an index, we have the first name, last name, but we need to add the result to the sorted students. So sorted students, sorted students. Alright, so we have called a sort by function using this function, so it should be sorted by this first name. So this will contain the list of those objects, and we have used the each function to iterate through all the objects and get the result and store that result in this sort students. Now let's go and reload it. You can see that it has been sorted. Actually it's not sorted, so let's see where we are wrong. Actually, we need to pass the sorted students, not the students, uh, because we have fetched the result and sorted it with the first name. Now let's save it and go right here. So you can see that the list have been sorted. There are the roll number that's shown that this is not the actual from the incrementing from 1 to 10, but it is 8, 9, alphabetically sorted A and then D, H, I, M. Alright, so it has been sorted. So you have seen how to work with sort by. Now we need to work with few more functions. We need to use shuffle and map function as well. Okay, so let's add comment and shuffle and map data. Okay, so first of all, as usual, let's fetch it and add a reference of that div element. Okay, change the name. Now we need to call the shuffle function. Shuffled underscore result equals to underscore dot shuffle student. Alright, so it will shuffle all the students randomly and it will store the result in the shuffled result variable. Alright, and now again we need to use each function, copy it, paste it, and pass it the result. Alright, that we have just found after calling the shuffle function, and we need to extend and add the result to the shuffle students. So change it to this. Alright, now let's go and reload it. You can see that that has been shuffled up. Okay, if I reload it again, let's put an IO on it, 8726. Let's reload it. You can see that it has been shuffled again, 167. If I reload it again, it has been shuffled again. Okay, so now we need to use a map function. Alright, so map function is a bit trickier. Okay, let's add map, and as usual let's fetch the element map stds. Alright, and I want to name it like, let's do it like this and add you to it, and var. So I will explain you later on. Let's name it with a students. Alright, underscore dot map students, and actually we need to add a callback function right here that will check if the first name, if the first character of first name starting with A, then return that object. Alright, so let's comma it and create that function. Okay, fetch stds with A. Okay, so I have created this function. Now let's add a condition. If item dot first name dot char at 0. Alright, that means that the first character of first name of the individual object. Alright, so I will return item dot first name plus actually I need to do all those things, item dot last name, and roll number. Item dot roll number plus add a break tag and a semicolon. So if it's not equals to a, then return an empty string. Alright, so I think that's been done. Now let's copy it and paste it. Alright, so it will fetch the result that matches the first character of the first name with A. Okay, now let's put the result in the map students in that element. Alright, so let's pass it this object, okay, and add a callback function again, element index, and we know that we have already constructed the format of result that we want to return, so we don't need to construct it again inside it. We just need to add element to it. So map students dot inner HTML, map students dot inner HTML plus element. Alright, so I think that's been done. So let's go and check out. So you can see that it has only returned those objects whose first name is starting with A. Okay, can you see? So this is very powerful function. I usually use this function in my various projects. So this can be very helpful in various scenarios. Alright, so I hope that you have understood it. Let's go. We have another two things for the second section, last two things I think. So we have a filter and reject. Filter and reject. Okay, so as usual, let's add a reference. Let's go and copy this ID and add right here and add a reference right here as well. Okay, so let's go and do it. What we need to do, we want to filter based on the condition. Alright, you might be looking at it is somehow the same as where, find where. Alright, but there are different scenarios that it can be different and very useful as compared to the find where. I would recommend you to use filter as compared to the find where. So let's add result underscore dot filter students, and it should have a function. So let's create that function. We can also add directly inside it, but I always use to write a function outside that, okay, so that it may be used by other things as well. So return, we need to return true or false from here. Alright, so where the element, it will iterate through all the elements of this data array, and where this condition return true, it will store that object to this result. Where this condition will return false, it will not store that result to this result variable. So let's add a condition. So let's add element dot roll number. Alright, actually that is a string, so we need to convert it to a integer. So pass int, let's convert it to the integer. So it has been converted, and mod 3 equals to 0. So those roll numbers which are divisible by 3 then return true. Alright, and add a function to it. So right now we have only three objects that are divisible by 3. We have this object, we have this object, and we have this object. Alright, so we need to get all those objects that have roll number 3, 6 and 9. So we are done with the filter. We need to now store the result in the filter students. So now let's add an each function. Let's copy it from here and paste it here. Okay, copy the result and paste it the result. Copy the filter students and replace it with the filter students, filter student. Alright, so let's go, reload it. So you can see that it has only returned those objects that have roll number 3, 6 and 9. Alright, now what we need to do, we need to use this last div elements reject students. Alright, so what it will do is it is the opposite of filter. It will reject those elements that will be returned true from this function. Okay, so let's add a reference to that element. So I will copy it, I will paste it and paste it right here as well. Alright, so copy it as well, and I want to change the name of result, reject result, and let's change it to reject and call the same function so that it will check the same condition. So it will neglect all those objects that will satisfy this condition. Alright, so what does it mean? It will return 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 and 10. Alright, so those objects that have these roll numbers. So let's now print the result again and pass it to the right here, and reject student right here and right here. So I think that's been done. Let's go and reload it. So you can see that it has neglected all those objects that were satisfying that condition. So 3, 6 and 9 are not included in this list. Alright, so these are done. I want to show you 2 more functions, but I will show the result of those functions in this console of this developer mode. Alright, so these are just 2 lines of code. So let's add console.log underscore.every students, and I want to add the same function right here. Alright, let's copy it and paste it. I want to change it sum. Okay, now let's see the result, and I will be back to explain you what is it. Okay, so it has returned false, it has returned true. So what does it mean? We know that this function has this condition that return those objects that are divisible by 3, the roll numbers. Okay, so I have used the every function. Okay, it has returned false. It means that return true if all the students are satisfying this condition. So we know that the first one is not satisfying that condition, 2 is not satisfying condition, 3 satisfy that condition, but 4 again not satisfying that condition. So even if one of the object is not satisfying this condition, it will return false. Sum if any of the object from this array, even if it is a one object, then return true. Alright, so this will return true, so that's why it is true. Alright, so that was all for this section of this tutorial. So that's been done. Now we need to work on script 3 and for the script 3 I don't have elements, so I will show the result of those uh, functions of underscore on this console. Alright, because those functions are not big lengthy, so I decided to show the result right here. So first of all, I will use iteration function. We know that we have used each function a lot in this tutorial, but there is another function that we can use to iterate different things. Each function was used, but that required an object. But if we don't have an object, we just want to uh, print something uh, for various times. Okay, so we have a function called times. Okay, so how many times we want to execute that callback function? Let's say it's 4, and we have a function and it will have index. Okay, so let's add console.log index. So what it will do is it will print the numbers from 0 to 3. Okay, it will automatically iterate from number 0 to 4. Let's go right here, reload it. So you can see that in the developer console window it has printed from 0 to 3. Alright, we can do other things as well. We can iterate a lot of code right here, but this was just to illustrate you. Alright, so now let's go and check out the random numbers. So let's add an console.log. So I will add a message to it. Random numbers from 0 to, let's say, 10. Okay. So I want to concatenate it with a random function. Random, and let's say it's 10. It will start from 0 up to this number. Alright, let's copy it and paste it, and I want to have random number from 10 to 20. Okay, so let's reload it now. So you can see that it has printed 3, it has printed 18. If I reload it again, it has printed 9 and it has printed 15. Alright, now let's check out other few functions as well. So let's add console.log and IDs. If we want to add an element or update an element, HTML element with a specific ID, we can do it like this. Okay, so let's concatenate it. Underscore dot unique ID. Alright, so it will generate an ID for it. Alright, if I copy and paste it few more times, you can see that it is automatically detecting that number 1 ID was already existed, so second time it has generated an ID 2. So this is how we can follow the different DOM manipulations with the help of this ID. Alright, so now let's go and check out another very important function that I use a lot, that is binding functions. Alright, so what binding function do is, so let's first add a comment and add an object that has to be an ID 1 and name has to be Umair. Okay, and add a function print data console.log this.id plus this.name. Alright, so I want this function to work with reference to this object. So how can I link this keyword to this object? How does it know that fetch the data from this object? Alright, I can bind this function to this object with the help of bind function. Alright, so let's have a reference variable and bind that. First parameter should be the function name and second parameter should be that object. Alright, so now we can call that function like this. We have a reference of that function after binding this function to this object, and later on we can call that function with this reference variable. Now if I go right here, you can see that it has printed one and my name from this. Alright, so I hope that you have understood it. Now the last thing that I want to show you that is very important, and that is the last thing of this tutorial, and that is how we can create our own underscore function. Alright, Underscore.js provide a function called mixin that we can use to create our own function. Alright, so let's add a comment, create our own function. So let's add underscore mixin. Alright, it is a function that receives an object, and that object should have an attribute, and that will show the name of that custom function. So I will say it's hello function str. Alright, this is the name of function that we are intended to create. So let's return str dot replace str hello str. So I have used JavaScript function, replace function. So what it will do is I have created a new underscore function. What it will do is it will receive a string and concatenate that string with a hello word. Alright, so now I want to use this new function. So console.log, and as usual let's call hello like this. Alright, and I will pass it Umair. Now it should print hello Umair. Okay, let's go and reload it. It has not printed, so let's check out. Actually that was a concatenated thing. Okay, let's go and reload it. So you can see that it has printed hello Umair. So you can see that we have created our own underscore function and used our own underscore function. So guys, that was all and everything that I decided to teach you in this tutorial. If you want to learn more, you can go through all these documentations. I have told you and explained you all those functions that I think are very important and are mostly used in our projects. If you want to learn, you can just check out like this. So make sure you thumbs up and subscribe my channel, share my video with your friends. That will really encourage me to make more videos. Thanks for watching this video.